Got it. So we're doing Mishpatim. This is a very interesting word. And, what's something that I always say with this crew is like, whenever I get to be with you, it always inspires me to learn and to research and to ask questions that I don't normally on a regular day-to-day basis listen to. Roy, that background has nothing on your actual books. Right. Mishpatim. All right. Were translated as laws, but check this out. Here's the question I'm going to ask in a second. I'm going to share the screen over here. Let's see. Uh-oh. Is it going to work? Let's see what this is going to work here. Desktop. Allow. Let's try this again. I'm using a loaner computer, so it's not my actual computer. So, things are a little wonky. Dove. Looks like it's going to work. Yofi. All right. Let's do this over here. Bloop, bleep, blop, bloop. All right. Fabulous. All right. First line. It says, these are the rules that you shall set before them, meaning Moses to the Israelite people. Ela mishpatim asher tis'im lefanehem. Okay. Now, here's the cuckoo question. What is the difference between mitzvot, commandments, and mishpatim, which are, it's interesting, they're saying that it's being translated as rules, right? Which is interesting. Like in Israel, the court system is Beit HaMishpat, right? It's the house of the rules. But the laws, like when you break a law, is like chukim, it's a chok. So here we've got all these different words. Guess what? There's actually a lot more based in my research. It's like people don't even agree. There's so many different things. So if we have mitzvot, I'm going to give us three. We have mitzvot, we have mishpatim, we have chukim, and we have edot. Okay? What is the difference? Does anybody already have an idea? Ever heard this question or asked this question of themselves? What's the difference? We were saying we've got all these commandments. So what's the difference between a commandment and a law in all these different understandings? Here's what I found. I'm gonna explain it like this, and you tell me if you can understand this. All squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. What does that mean?
The shapes are different.
But if all squares are rectangles, however, not all rectangles are squares. All squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. What does that mean? What you got, Plina?
I think it's in a square you could fit two rectangles. But
you could fit in an infinite number of but
exactly
if a square,
right,
all squares
right
are rectangles,
right,
but not all rectangles are squares.
But you cannot fit. You're not going to be able to fit a square into a rectangle.
Unless
you minimize
of squares
it, you make it very little.
That still doesn't. I'm not even going deep here. I'm just going
mathematics, right?
Mathematics. Right. What is the difference? squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. Go, Roy.
It's a form of logic. It's if you ever studied the LSAT, you learn these sort of logic rules. If A, then B, if not, you know, B, then not A, etc. And so basically what it's saying is that there's an overarching logic to it. And if B fits into A, then it's part of that. You know, it's a subset of that overarching.
There we go. Fabulous. Yes, it's like it's something. Here you've got the mitzvot or rectangles. What do rectangles need? They need to have four right angles, right? A square, which is a subcategory of rectangles, needs to have all right angles and all the sides need to be equal, right? So the rectangle's up here, the square is here, right? So it's like a subcategory. Yes. That took a lot longer to get to than I thought it would. All right. So underneath, then this is very interesting, just in some research, and I don't necessarily agree totally. Check this out. Okay. So underneath mitzvot, commandments, this one source I was looking at states that there are three levels underneath that. Right. There's another thing that says that there are 10 levels underneath that. There was another thing that I saw that they're just 10 things and mitzvot are part of that. But that got very confusing. I was like, I'm just pushing that one to the side for now. So we have Mishpatim. Get ready for this. Or Mishpat is singular, Mishpatim. It says that these are rational laws or easy to understand because they are easily compatible with conventional logic, right? That they are easy to understand, compatible with conventional logic, right? They mostly govern interpersonal interactions, right? This is between you and me. It's not with like ben adam lemakom, between humans and God. This is between people. Right? This is between people. Then you have chukim. These are considered like not necessarily rational. Very hard for an individual to understand. It's just the way it is, or you got to do it. Right? It's just the way it is, and you got to do it. Like mixing linen and wool. Don't do it. Why? Right? Some even argue that kashrut is part of this. You may not understand why, but just don't do it. But, right, it also could fall into another category, kashrut, which is the third category, edot, which is like a testimonial, that they are semi-rational and that some people may understand them and other people may not understand them. They may seem rational to some and not rational to others. I believe kashrut really kind of falls in there, right? Because you got the kashrut laws, and people say, "Oh, well, really, they were meant to the kashrut law meant to health reasons. You don't want to eat certain things because of cross contamination. You don't know, right?" So very practical, where one may think that falls into mishpatim, like, duh, yeah, okay. But others would be like, well, it still doesn't make sense because now you can figure those things out. So I should be able to put it together. What is the point? And it doesn't even say, what it says is don't boil a calf in its mother's milk. That means you can't eat a cheeseburger. So some people are like, huh? What? Makes no sense. Others are like, yeah, because it's logical about health reasons and all those kind of things. So within commandments, right, we have levels of different categories. I loved that one. Questions so far. So we've got chukim, mishpatim, edot. Chukim, supernatural, irrational, necessarily. Mishpatim, these are the rational laws. And edot, which could kind of fall in between the two. Some may think it's one, some may think it's another. Oh, who did we lose? We did lose somebody. Go ahead, Penina.
Okay, I look at that it's been tried before, or it's something that you are not going to question, which is decided already in the eyes of God or Moses, whatever, whoever, that it's been something that already been judged on before or tried before, and it's something that you just don't do. So you have to take it as a law, but it's undisputable. It's something that in God's eyes, it's been kind of like tried before, and it's not something that you should do.
Undisputed. So that's interesting.
It's been judged upon before.
But so that it's like, and then so which one is that? Because it
The
was
one
interesting. I was
that
thinking
you're
about
not going to, the one that you're not going to hit your father or your mother.
oh,
And
that's gonna be, check this out. That's a little, that one. Okay, because all this
it's
stuff.
it's the people that will teach you, even though
But
today
then you
we
have
know that
like,
some people
I
are
think
not
about the
maybe fit to
Mishnah,
be
I think
parents,
about
but
the Gemara, I think about how it's like you have a law and then you have somebody trying to explain it and then somebody else trying to explain that explanation. And then within those explanations, people arguing about the explanations. It's
no,
throwing
the
out,
word
because I like what you're
mishpat,
saying.
no, the word mishpat means already a judgment.
No, I know. I'm going back to the difference between those two.
Right. So if it's been already judged done before in the eyes of God, in other words, Moses decides, or whoever it is that helps him come out with those with the commandments. When it came to this, to hit your parents, it's a non-disputable whether it's okay or not. It's been judged done before that you don't do it.
Yeah, but okay. All right. Well, we'll see about that. All right, let's go. I'm going to take a look at something else now. I love it because that was the next one. You were reading it ahead. So, bloop, 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 bloop. I found this fascinating. Oh, wrong one. Let's look at this one instead. Lo, ze. Yofi. Okay. Isn't this interesting? It's like, one who strikes one's father or mother shall be put to death. One who insults one's father or mother will be put to death. Could you imagine? I mean, especially today, these teenagers today, the way they talk to their parents. Like, I always think that this is funny because, when people say, well, it says in the Bible, you're not supposed to do X, Y, and Z, right? That people will pick and choose how they want to follow these rules. Like when it comes to lay with a person not the same way you lay with this person, or see, it says you can't do that. Really, it also says you're not. If you insult your parents, you're going to be put to death. Which one are you going to follow? Oh well, this one's kind of irrational. Of course not. Versus, oh, Brad's here. Versus this other one, which I may not agree with, but okay, so see, says so in the Bible. I find that very interesting.
You always have the option to live. You don't have to kill these people. That's the way I look at it. So this is a no debatable to begin with. That's it.
What do you mean you have the option to? Well, you have the option not to enforce.
The person, instead of killing them, you can always leave. There is no need to kill somebody because you don't agree with them.
Eric, is that
especially
a hand?
if they are your parents?
Is that a hand, Eric?
That's the way I look at it.
You're muted. Eric, you're muted. Okay. All right. It's because I find this very interesting. There's one who just even insults, you're going to be put to death. You can leave. You may not be able to leave, right? Because this may not fall under the city of refuge over here. But check this out. Okay. Now, we get into what I find interesting, the difference of Mishpatim and Chukim, where they really go into great detail on judgment versus just a one line of Don't kill. Thou shalt not murder. Boom. Okay. But then he goes into these other laws, these other that are just full of detail. When two parties quarrel and one strikes the other with stone or fist, and the victim does not die but has take to bed, if that victim then gets up and walks outdoors upon a staff, the assailant shall go unpunished, except for paying for the idleness and the cure. When two or more parties fight and one of them pushes a pregnant woman and a miscarriage results, but no other damage ensues, the one responsible shall be fined according as the woman's husband may exact, the payment to be based on reckoning. But if other damages ensue, the penalty shall be life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. When a slave-owning party strikes the eye of a slave, male or female, and destroys it, that person shall let the slave go free on account of the eye. If the owner knocks out the tooth of a slave, male or female, that person shall let the slave go free on account of the tooth. When an ox gores a man or a woman to death, the ox shall be stoned and its flesh shall not be eaten. But the owner of the ox is not to be punished. However, if, however, that ox has been in the habit of goring and its owner, though warned, has failed to guard it and it kills a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned and its owner too shall be put to death. That is a lot of information versus don't kill, don't commit adultery. It's like, that's it. This is the rule. This is the mitzvah. So even under there, it's interesting to think about. Pnina, say again what you said earlier, because I feel that it's like, I like this. There are certain things you're just like, this, you don't question it. There's no room for debate here, right? But with these things, right? The eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and then if that was the truth, then the whole world would be blind.
No. You pay for it, but you don't give him an eye. They tell you, you give him the money that was
That's
worth.
only here. It only
If
for a
it's
slave
possible.
because it's property.
If
Here it's only for a
right.
slave because it's property. But
Right.
people who are not slaves, right? It's unclear whether it is paying or not, right? That's extrapolation. That's going next level. That's going Mishnah. That's going Gemara. That's not straight from the text.
Well, this is why the law kept changing, and every country have their own set of things, and even here in the United States, I'm sure that you'll find things that will be very close to this, or some things were not going to be even close. So it's like the way people understand it. It's few generations later. So if you're trying to understand it in the conditions of today, it will be very difficult.
No, of course, but that point being, right? You're explaining my point exactly. There are certain things. There's just the way it is. There is no extrapolation. You just don't do this.
Right.
Right. Versus, all right, well, the pushing, did I push? Okay, this person got hurt, but what does that mean? I didn't mean to do it, or I did it, and I did mean to do it, but I was angry at it. All the different things. Okay, let's keep going. This one I also found very, very interesting. Yet again, very detailed. If a thief is seized while tunneling under a wall for housebreaking and beaten to death, there is no blood guilt in that case. But if the sun had already risen, there is blood guilt in that case. The thief must make restitution, and if lacking the means, shall be sold for the theft. But if what was stolen, whether an ox or ass or sheep, is found alive and in hand, that person shall pay double. I mean, okay, so here we are again. Very, very detailed stuff. Very, very detailed stuff. When any party who owns livestock lets it loose to graze in another's land, and so allows a field or a vineyard to be grazed bare, restitution must be made for the impairment of the field or vineyard. Oh, Lorraine! Lorraine is here, everybody. Haven't seen Lorraine for a while. Though me and Lorraine hung out in Washington, D.C. in the March. Connecting to audio. Here she comes. Hi, Lorraine. Fabulous to have you.
Hello.
So again, right, when a fire is started and spreads to thorns, so that stacked, standing, or growing grain is consumed, the one who started the fire must make restitution. When any party gives money or goods to another for safekeeping, and they are stolen from that other party's house, if caught, the thief shall pay double. If the thief is not caught, then the owner of the house shall depose before God, right, and deny laying hands on the other's property. In all charges of misappropriation pertaining to an ox, an ass, a sheep, a garment, or any other loss, whereof one party alleges, this is it, the case of both parties shall come before God. The one whom God declares guilty shall pay double to the other. Oh my goodness, it's just, look at this. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And this is, I just took little sections. What is going on here? We went from these beautiful stories, right? From creation all the way through in Genesis, right? These are stories, and then in Exodus in the beginning, and then we leave in the beautiful seas are parted and we become a people, a nation, and it's all very dramatic and flowery language, right? And now we've got this. What's going on here?
Let me put it this way. If they would have paid attention, the civil war wouldn't have happened.
I don't understand what you mean.
I said if they would pay attention to the conditions of what to do with slaves, you got to let them free after 7 years. And if the slaves wants to stay, he has to have a pierced ear to prove to the world that he wanted to stay. If they would pay attention to those laws, you wouldn't have the civil war in the United States.
It goes back to pick and choose, pick and choose, pick and choose. Roy.
Okay.
So we've just gotten the laws from Mount Sinai, and that's like the big rectangle. That's the large abstract guidance. And now they've discovered, okay, we got to get into the nitty gritty so that people understand, they're now trying to apply real life experiences to the overall principle.
Fabulous. Merle.
I think it's the long way of putting each person involved in the issues, putting their position out there so that the reader hopefully will understand where each person's coming from, whether it's a slave, whether it's the owner, whether it's a parent, or whoever. I think it's just making it, but it's a very long way of making it visible, these people's position.
So then when it says like eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, it doesn't really apply eye for an eye. It depends on whose eye it was.
Right.
Right. And status of you within the community, right? A man versus a woman versus a slave,
right?
Then a male slave, a female slave, right? If they were married before, if they weren't married, so it just keeps going. All these different. That's interesting. So what you're saying is within a community, not everything can apply to everyone equally. Is that true?
It shouldn't be true, but isn't that reality? I mean, people are judged by what they have or don't have. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I mean, people are judgmental. As a community, people are judgmental, unfortunately. And it shouldn't be.
The British Empire, the kings still have 36 commonwealths. One of them still have slavery in it. Did you know that today? Did you guys know that?
What do you mean? Who, where?
The British Empire today, they still have 36 commonwealths that they belong to them. People pay tax to them, like in Africa or I don't know where. one of the Commonwealths still have slavery in it.
Which one?
Huh.
Look it up.
I will. My
Okay.
good. So wait a second. So like New Zealand and Australia pay taxes.
I don't know if them. I don't know. You have
They
to-
no, not slavery, but they pay taxes to England.
They do.
I don't know about that. Brad, what you got to say?
Well, getting back to your question about the arc, no pun intended, of the Torah, moving from stories to rules. I mean, when we were slaves in Egypt, the rules were made by somebody else. So now all of a sudden we're adrift, and without somebody making rules, without Pharaoh and crew making rules for us. So this is an attempt to seize, control of the issue and create our own rules.
But so specific right away? This might have driven me back to Egypt. Oh boy, I can't even make any sense of all this stuff. I'm gonna go back to.
But that's a need that people have
I agree.
of boundaries. People need to know their limits, the boundaries. So I don't think that's at all surprising that there'd be a need for rules upon leaving Egypt.
Okay. My husband sold the house to a doctor from Egypt, modern people. They lived in Pepper Pike. And her parents sent her a girl, a slave. The girl was not allowed to leave the house. She didn't open the door to anybody. When somebody came and rang the doorbell, she went inside. We knew exactly what it was, but who am
Nina
I?
Makesher. Wait. Why are you bringing that up?
Because the girl was a slave.
Okay, but what does that have to do with what Brad just said?
It has to do with what we're dealing with. That things are being done today that you think that it was only in the Bible. It's not.
No, we didn't say it's only in the Bible. These things happen, right? All of these things are laws
right.
that
And I'm talking that was, okay, maybe 20 years ago.
That's cuckoo.
Okay.
All right, here we go. We're gonna keep going. I love this this is my favorite transition right here. You ready for this one? This I find very funny. So what did we just do? We were looking at all of these laws and how detailed and all of this. Look at this. And this is just, I took little teeny sections, and this is very practical stuff, right? I mean, this is really going into the nitty gritty. And then here comes maybe the most important mitzvah that we have in the Torah. Are you ready for the most important mitzvah we have in the Torah? I see Roy can't even control himself. He's super excited about this. Get ready. Here it comes. I'm scrolling. You shall not tolerate a sorceress. What's happening? Okay, you shall not. We have all of these rules all of a sudden, everything, all these details, and the next thing that pops up, you shall not tolerate a sorceress. What's going on here? Now, clearly, it has to do with, what I'll ask you. What do you think this has to do with? I'm not going to dismiss it outright like this. Don't do it to a sorceress. This is really just I won't even say. So where do you think this mitzvah or mishpat is leading us? Go ahead, Nina.
It's how you do your services in a temple, because the sorcerers or women being either sacrificed or performing sexual acts or something. It was
whoa!
rituals.
Slow down there.
They
Slow
were
down there
rituals.
with this.
And the women being a
anything
sorcerer
about that?
was a part of a ritual. of a religious ritual. That's why they said it.
Okay, so but what does it have to do with what's coming next? What is one of these things that how do I put this all together? What is something that even today you hear parents talk about for their children? Or what is God, what are the things that God is most afraid of for God's children or the children of Israel? What's one of the things? And then
Idol
it comes
worship.
up a bunch. What's that, Miro?
Idol worship.
Yeah, okay. Idol worship. Taking on all right, now I'm going to be hanging out with all these other people because as we go, right, it says the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Mishmites and the flip-flips, right? You're just going to start hanging out with these people as we go through on your way to the promised land. But oy vavoy lachem, God forbid if you start doing what they do, right? Don't be
Exactly.
praying. God even said, I don't even want to hear these words come out of your lips. I don't want to even hear the word. You know what it reminds me of? When I was younger, and my father is trying to teach lessons about drugs and alcohol, smoking, and then right now we have all these things. The kids are doing all these things, and they have, don't do this, and here's why, and you take care of your body, and all of these things, and you're trying to reason. My father said to me, David, if I ever find out that you were drinking, if I ever find out that you were smoking, I'll effing break your legs. See that? I did not touch or drink because of that until, okay, I know this is being recorded, but I was almost 21, wasn't 21 yet. It was 20, my first drink. And where did that happen?
In
Hillel.
college.
At Hillel during Purim. Because of Purim, you're supposed to not know the difference between good and evil, blah, blah, blah. But let me tell you, I definitely knew evil after that experience. That was the first time. And I had my father in my head the entire time. That would not work for my children. That would not work for my children. It definitely worked on me. It would not work on my children. Anyway, okay, yes, it's all about the beginnings of this fear. And it goes back to another concept of like kashrut. What if you come from a community that keeps strict kashrut, right? Strict kashrut. What are the chances, right? What's the difference between a Jew who keeps strict kashrut and a Jewish person who doesn't and really enjoys the avocado egg rolls at Cheesecake Factory? What's the difference between those two eating experiences? Going strict kashrut, kosher restaurant, no kashrut, I'm eating those avocado egg rolls at Cheesecake Factory. What's the difference in that eating experience?
You're not doing the mitzvah of keeping kashrut.
Said that, okay, you're not doing the mitzvah. Yes, that is correct. But what's the difference between the dining experience?
You're in a restaurant that doesn't keep kashrut.
Okay, so who else is in that restaurant?
All kinds of people who might
Everybody else, yes.
Right.
The people, the undesirables that you don't want, the idol worshippers that you don't want to be mixing with, right? So there it comes back to this idea what we talked about earlier. Lorraine, we were talking about what's the difference between mitzvah, mishpat, chok, edah, right? All these different words and different categories. That's a very practical reason to keep kosher, so it doesn't lead to mixed dancing. No, Roy, that wasn't funny. I thought that was kind of funny. It wasn't so funny that leads to mixed dancing. No, the point being that these rules that we are that we follow also keep us insular, right? that we're not going to be tempted. So that you see temptation and curiosity goes all the way back. Go ahead, Pina, what you got? Did I tell her she's muted, or does somebody else want to?
Anita, unmute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So
I
thank
got you, Brad. I got you.
Okay. I'm sorry. You guys are playing me with this thing. This is really ridiculous. Okay.
That's so funny.
Okay. The thing is that there is such a thing, it's called Mar'it Ayin. Mar'it Ayin is how it looks
Yes.
to the other person. And that's the reason that women sit separately in shul and the men. So it wouldn't look to the other person that maybe the wife of somebody is going to have some business or relationships with somebody else's husband or something, and vice versa. So it's like the same reason that when I called the plumber and he was really religious, he left the door open and he told me don't close it. So the neighbors are not going to think that I have a young man in my house and I'm going to do something that's not.
Man, listen to you, Pina. Today you're going in
I am
those
telling you.
directions
So it's
multiple
called
times today.
Mar'it Ayin. So
Yeah,
if
but
you're
you
going to
could
do
also
something,
use the example of some dude wearing a kippah going to a non-kosher restaurant. Somebody who's Jewish who keeps kosher and sees that there's some dude in there wearing a kippah. They're going to assume that the restaurant is kosher, and that
Okay.
it may force someone else to transgress.
Okay.
That's
It's
how
keeping
we
the
keep it
temptation
PG.
away.
That's how we keep it PG in this business, Pnina. Okay.
All righty.
Brad, you're up.
Well, I mean, the argument is a slippery slope argument.
Oh, isn't it all? Keep going.
That it's not the foods themselves that are intrinsically bad for some reason. It's because not keeping kosher may lead to something else. So I mean that's kind of that's not a slippery slope argument is not necessarily the most convincing.
You know, there's a song we sing at camp that is exactly that. It says, mitzvah goreret mitzvah, woo, avora goreret avora, whoa, which is one mitzvah will lead to another, right? That's the slope of the mitzvah leads to another, but one transgression will then lead to another, right? Like a gateway transgression. But then, okay, let me start with this. Well, it's not so bad. Let me continue on with this. I like that, Brad. But so, okay, I got you in a second, Merle, but I want Brad to finish a thought that I have a question about. So say that again about slippery slope is not a what?
I don't think that's a particularly convincing argument.
Okay, why?
And maybe that's, because you're not getting to the heart of the matter. I mean, you're telling people not to eat certain foods, and the reason being that because it may lead to some other issue. But what is intrinsically wrong with those particular foods? So, when people struggle with that, you tell me not to eat pork. What's intrinsically bad about eating pork? Now, if your argument is that it could lead to blah, 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 maybe that holds sway with some people, but for a lot of people, that type of argument's a very weak kind of logic. We're talking about logic here.
Great. Go, Merle.
I'm looking at this, expanding on what Brad said, what's going to happen to you if you eat this, the slippery slope. In my case, there's a lot of food I'm not allowed to have. It's a health issue. Kashrut is supposed to be leading you to a healthier lifestyle.
Amen.
Well, again,
but people,
that goes back to the beginning of the conversation. Is it the
right,
mishpat? Is it
but
the chok? Is it the neidah? For some people,
people
they'll say
will,
it's this, and others will say like, no, you just don't do it.
but people will say to me, well, why can't you taste such and such? And I'm like, because if I taste it, the temptation, if I really like it, is I want to eat it more and more,
Oh,
and then I'll end up in the hospital.
but
Or
you could. So what you're saying is that that's about the human condition rather than the thing itself, like Brad is saying.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Like, why can't I just have a spoonful of the ice cream? Why do I have to go through the entire pint?
Right.
Why?
Big, or why can't I have what's in the ice cream that makes the ice cream so wonderful, or the seasoning, or the barbecue sauce, or certain kinds of food that I'm not allowed to eat for a variety of health reasons.
Right.
I'm used to that and just avoiding them. And I can go anywhere and behave myself most of the time. But when people who know my condition will say to me, well, why can't you try this? What'll happen if you take a bite of it? I don't have good willpower. But I don't want to make the situation get worse. And I think that's a lot of what a lot of this is about as well.
Wow. So that's what a lot. So this is because. So this are you saying that then humans cannot be trusted to take care of themselves and others
Well,
A lot of the times.
intrinsically,
but
like
but the other bottom line through all these requirements is making barriers between Jews and all the other people in the world. I mean, you have them wearing different clothes, you have them eating different things, you have the ladies in a segregated. Then if you need to make sure that who's who, you examine penises and see who's circumcised and who's not.
now you bringing us to that place, you and Panina over here.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
examining
didn't go
anything.
But where that leads,
Yeah. Eric, where'd you go? There he is.
It leads to choices. It's
Hold
all
on.
a
Keep
matter
going,
of
Eric.
choices.
Hold on, Panina. Let Eric finish his thought.
Okay.
Eric, you're muted, dude. Oh no, is he there? Is he there? Eric, are you still there?
I think he froze.
Oh man. Because I wanted to hear what he had to say.
There
Oh,
he
he's
is.
back. Unmute
Let me-
yourself and finish your thought. Unmute yourself and then finish your thought.
He's not muting himself.
One more time.
there's unmute.
There you
There
are.
he is. Okay, finish your thought.
Okay, well, but the other thing is, I was just switching to this other set of the same set of the same portion, and it's also in Exodus about how the angel will come, and you have the Amorites, the Jebusites, and
Yes.
all other people, and it will help you enforce ruthless restrictions and even extermination of all these competitive ones. And
It
that's
also
it,
says, right? Yeah. Sorry, go on.
and which is sort of creepy given the current events.
Yeah, dude. I know. Look, there were even parts that I was like, not today. Not today. I'm not talking about those today.
And we won't even get into the slave aspects.
No, or the tunneling. I even brought up there's this thing with this tunnel, if you catch a minute though. Anyway, but
But let's think of that. The Solomon had this dispute between two ladies who were both claiming
right.
the same child, and that he had an interesting solution to that.
Well, okay, let's cut the baby in two.
That was when you could cut them in half. You could give each prospective mother half. Is that okay?
And then one mother's like, yeah, sounds good.
And the other
one's like, no, let her have it. Because that was the real mama.
Yeah.
All right,
Never mind. I'll shut up. I've talked too much.
God forbid. God
No,
forbid.
God is not.
Nobody
God,
puts Eric in the corner. Okay, I'm gonna keep going over here. All right. Dun, 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 dun. Here it is. Let's share this one. All right. Yes, see, that goes. We're all talking about this. Whoever sacrifices, let's look at this. Yeah. Whoever sacrifices to a god other than Adonai alone shall be prescribed. You shall not wrong or now. Oh, okay. So that was one. Then it says, check this one out. You shall not wrong or oppress a stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Ah, that's a really big one right there. You shall not ill treat any widow or orphan. If you meet, treat them. So this is interesting. Oh, Keren, you got your hand. Let me finish this thought, and then you got the floor. So here we had these other laws that are just pretty like snooze in the way that they're delivered. Now we have another law where it says that you shall not oppress a stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. We'll get back to that one in a second. And it continues with, you shall not ill treat any widow or orphan. Now, I don't understand. This would be, I think it might make those other previous laws a little bit more interesting if it says, rather than don't do this, otherwise you'll be put to death. Don't do this, otherwise you're going to have to pay for this. If it said, if you do mistreat them, I will hear their outcry as soon as they cry out to me, and my anger shall blaze forth, and I will put you to the sword, and your own wives shall become widows, and your children orphans. Right? How much more exciting would those other laws have been if we had a little bit more of that in there too, rather than just, you got to pay a couple of dollars here, a couple of dollars here. Now, okay, sorry, Karen, go ahead.
Hi, Rabbi. Thank you. So I just wanted to say, going back to what we were talking about, is that the Torah explicitly says keep kosher so that you could be holy like God is holy. So I don't think it has anything to do with health.
Okay.
Or anything with the way it tastes. It definitely has to do along with separation, like somebody said earlier. Jews do this, Jews don't do that. But ultimately, the reason we keep Torah is to be holy like God. I don't think it has anything to do with, is it still relevant? Pig is healthy or whatever it is. It's explicitly there. It's so that we could be healthy. Like we could be holy like God is holy.
Okay, but then if that's the case, what about if you say something not nice to your parents, you get killed?
Right, but then what did the rabbi say?
So this is exactly right.
So,
I love that you said that, Karen. I love that you said that. Yes.
The parents have to speak simultaneously. Parents will never speak simultaneously, et cetera, et cetera. So
fair, very good.
More in principle than in practice. Kids shouldn't be drinking wine and eating meat and being unruly.
So it's the same thing with the laws of kashrut, because the laws of kashrut are not here in the Torah per se, right? All of these lists about what is kosher, what's not. Like if you don't clean the broccoli well enough, then then it's not kosher. It doesn't say that directly in the Torah, right? They have other things, but it's like, then what did the rabbi say? And then what did the other rabbis of the rabbi say? And then the arguments. That's what's so beautiful about all of this, right? That's exactly right. That's what's so beautiful of all of this. I just wish they gave me a little bit more of the fun language and the other things. I think maybe we would pay more attention. No, but this is really good. Okay. Just check this one out again. You shall not oppress a stranger. We said it. We saw it just a second ago. Now all of a sudden we see it again. You shall not oppress a stranger, for you know the feelings of the stranger, having yourselves been strangers in the land of Egypt. Get ready for this. This is the most quoted statement in all of Torah. Outside of, like Ber Adonai El Moshe or as bar mitzvah kid, like outside of that statement, that God spoke through Moses to say to the people. Statement. But this, as a mitzvah, You shall not oppress a stranger, for you know the feeling of the stranger having yourselves. The most repeated. How many times? Take a guess. How many times do you think this is repeated in the Torah?
I think it's 30 some, if I'm not mistaken.
Brad, yes. 36, like definitively expressed this way, plus another 10 that others said, well, it does mean the same thing. So it's like between 36 and 46 times. Why? Why is it with all of those, all the different laws, boom, we got this one again. All the different laws and the requirements and all the judgment, boom, we have this one again. And then all the different, and then we have this one again. Why does it keep coming up? Why does it keep coming up in between all of these? Kevin, is that a new hand or an old hand? I don't remember.
That's an old hand, but I have a comment.
Bring it.
I like that you pointed out how this commandment is different, and I like how it's written that you suffered through this, so you know how bad it can be. It's not just don't oppress a stranger. It puts it in context. It reminds you that you were like that once in Egypt. And actually, as you know, the rabbi said, well, you shouldn't hold a grudge against the Egyptians because when you first went there, they treated you well.
And you went there willingly.
Right.
And what's interesting here, you shall not oppress, is not in the singular, right? It's in the plural. Vatem yadatem. Right? And that goes back actually directly connected to the point that you made that's going to come up a little bit later about the holiness. Right? God says, do this to be holy like God. And it says you in the plural. We've talked about that before, but I love that that you pointed that out. Okay, go, Pnina.
I think can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I think it has to do with you lose perspective when you are used to do something, when you are used to do something that's not right, then you're going to do it also to the people that you're not supposed to. I mean, not that you're supposed to do it to everybody, to a stranger, but this whole thing, I think it's not, don't turn it into a habit to a point where you are going to lose your kne midah, how do you call it? Something that measures your behavior. It's called, in Hebrew, we call it kne midah. It's the measurement that you are allowing yourself to behave accordingly. You're going to start doing it. So after that, you lose the perspective of who is really stranger and who's not, because you just get mean. I think that's the danger here.
And it's just like we all need little bits, constant reminders.
Exactly. It's only in this particular case, and even then, don't be so bad because you were once a slave yourself. So it's don't lose perspective. Don't make it a habit of being mean.
And it's also humbling.
Yes.
Right? There's a lot of humility in this.
Exactly.
Like,
it's very easy to become mean if you decide to become mean, and then you forget that you're not supposed to really, to certain people, you have to give allowances.
That is a really interesting point, that it is very easy to become
it's easy
mean.
To become mean. Really
so
easy.
Maybe that is why we need such fences. Right? It goes back to Brad's point about intrinsic or not.
Yeah.
But also, if we are distinguishing ourselves from all other peoples and making ourselves very distinctive, if we get a reputation of being bad to other people, that's going to be bad for us.
There we go.
It is self-preservation to be kind to strangers, to not get the strangers angry at Jews.
Man,
not just the Jews, at anybody. Yeah.
But it's classic, right? It's like, how many of us, when you hear like when somebody does like Bernie Madoff, oh, he's Jewish. Oh God, he's Jewish. right? Or whenever you hear somebody do something that's not so kosher, not so good, first thing is like, oh God, is he Jewish? I hope he's not Jewish, right? It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, I have to tell you something. You're talking about Madoff. Elie Wiesel had his money with Madoff. My cousin went to see him in one of the conventions, and he came to him and he said, he also was a survivor. And there is a big monument that he put up in one of the, how do you call it, Bet HaKvarot, in the cemetery in Cleveland. He came to him and he said to him in the convention, you know, I think on the mother's side, I think we are cousins. And he said, that's nice. And he walked away from him. Then Madoff took up about his money, and all of a sudden he was looking for relatives. So it comes to show you that yeah.
Don't oppress the stranger because you were a stranger too. Like what goes around comes around, people.
Yeah.
All
All of a
right.
sudden he was looking for relatives, and you know what?
Yes.
Okay, tough luck.
Not today. Not
Right.
today, Bernie.
Right.
So with that, very interesting place to finish. We talked about some very, I was not expecting certain words to come up today, but they did, which is fabulous. So with that, everybody, I want to wish you all Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Yotev
Shalom.
Shalom. We need a little
Thank
bit more
you.
Shalom up in
Thank
this
you, Rabbi.
business. And to be continued. Roy, good luck with the continued move.
Thank you.
All right. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Take care.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.